Burns,
Here.
Mr. Anthony Caldwell, Dr. Jones, Pastor Jones, Michael Fahey,
Here.
Dr. Ford, Crystal Jackson, Pastor Nathan, Kyle Strickland, and Mary Younger. That's it.
Thank you. All right, I'd like to start our board meeting off by welcoming two of our three new board members who have been trained and then right before this meeting sworn in to serve. I would like to give them an opportunity to introduce themselves if they would like to. I'll start this way with board member Michael Fahey.
Hi, everyone. Thank you. My name is Michael Fay. Pleasure to be joining you all and to be joining this board. I appreciate the support of the mayor and city council in making this happen and being a part of this. I'm an attorney. I work at the law firm Voorhees here, right around the corner, so easy to find me. And then a little bit of background in accountability work for the U.S. Government Accountability Office in D.C. and working for the State Department of Public Safety before law school. So looking forward to learning from you all and contributing to this community effort. Thank you.
Thank you. I'd like to turn it next to Mr. Anthony Caldwell.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm Anthony Caldwell. For the last 2 decades or so, I've done labor work in Central Ohio and across the country. Glad to be part of this group and look forward to working with you all together. I'm a West Side resident, live just north of the Hilltop, and really looking forward to getting out and learning more about what our officers are doing in the community, but also how we can work with them to establish trust in that in the community too.
Perfect. Well, thank you both. We welcome you both here. We will have our third board member introduced momentarily as soon as his swearing in is done. While we await that, I would entertain a motion if people have taken the opportunity to look at the minutes from the previous meeting. Unless there are any additions or edits or corrections, would anyone like to move to accept the minutes as given? Okay, may I have a second, please? All right, all in favor of accepting the minutes, except our new board members, because you were not at that meeting, must abstain. Everyone else, all in favor, please raise your hands. Okay, no opposition, any abstentions? Motion carries. Thank you. All right, we will give our next newest board member just a moment to get to his seat. Yes. I'd like to thank him for also joining us and give him an opportunity to introduce himself, Mr. Kevin Grove.
Okay, well, thank you, everyone. I apologize for being late. I just had my, I just completed my ride-along, so we had an arrest, we had everything, so I'm sweating, so I apologize. But yes, my name is Kevin Grove. I'm a retired federal agent with the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services back in November of 2025. I was 28 years there, and I'm looking forward to doing great things on this board, so I'm still catching my breath here. So.
Nope, absolutely. We understand. Thank you thank you very much for doing your ride along in enough time to make it to the meeting this afternoon. We appreciate it. I would like to also just recognize this momentous occasion where we actually have 11 seated board members again, which makes me very excited. That is notwithstanding the fact that we do have 3 board members whose terms are still expiring this spring. So we are still looking for an additional 3 members so we can round out our full and active board. All right, next is not on the agenda, but I'm going to place it there to carry over some things from our last meeting. At last month's meeting, the board went into executive session to review a complaint or an allegation against a board member. We did not take a vote during that session, but we also failed to take a vote following the executive session. Based on the review of the allegations that occurred, I would entertain a motion as to whether the board would like to pursue any additional action in relation to the complaint. Or in the alternative, is there a board member who would like to move to not pursue any additional action on the, thank you. May I have a second, please? Second. All in favor, please raise your hands. We will probably have, Dr. Jones, I think you have to abstain. Any oppositions? Any abstentions? Okay, we have an abstention from Dr. Jones and Dr. Ford. Motion carries. All right, Dr. Jones, I will turn it over to you for, you're gonna do the public display.
Just wanted to, well, so, yeah, as of December, I have entered into a contract with the Columbus So as of December, I have a contract with the Columbus Division of Police to facilitate their CompStat meetings. Just wanted to be, full and transparent that that does not present a conflict of interest. That is a data analysis type of endeavor that we're doing, and it doesn't conflict with anything that we're doing here on the board.
Does anyone have any questions for Dr. Jones?
Chair Burns, before we moved on from this, I didn't have any questions. Maybe if somebody did, maybe I should give space for that. Is there anything for Dr. Jones?
I do not see any.
Okay. I don't know if this would be the appropriate time to ask the question. I raised an issue last time about how we're handling complaints against the board, whether they would, as a matter of course, go to the full board or be handled in a sort of probable cause hearing with the chair and vice chair, and then if they thought there was probable cause to proceed, to go to the full board. When I looked at, and perhaps our attorneys can help us out here, when I looked at the disciplinary or the process, it seemed that that was exactly the process that was outlined. What my suggestion appears to be what was laid out in the process. Am I wrong about that? That is, that it goes first to the chair and vice chair whether to bring this to the board, that they have discretion. They may bring it to the board, but there's no must or have to. So is that correct?
I think that's correct. I don't have the policy right in front of me. I'm sorry, I'm having some connectivity issues. But yes, that is the process that's laid out in the policy. And Rob might have more to add. I think he actually helped draft it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have too much extra to say, but I will say that that's correct. But I will also say that legal guidance has been provided to the chair that towards transparency, accountability, the guidance was it should be shared with the board and it should be a collective process, decision-making process. Again, certain types of issues can go into executive session for discussion, but again, especially, I'm trying not to get into too much detail here, but general guidance was it should be shared with the board.
Do we need to amend the may to should?
No, it's discretionary for the chair. If you want to do that, you certainly can do that.
Okay.
But the guidance we gave to the chair was that
I
it should
see.
be shared with the board in all instances.
Any additional questions? Okay. With that, I would turn it over to Inspector General Hendricks for an update from the IG's office.
Well, good afternoon, Madam Chair and board members. We're going to be presenting the annual report. There were several reports that were sent out to the board ahead of time. So we're just going to be presenting the annual report. If there are any questions regarding the monthly report or the other report that we sent revolving allegations of officers, please just let me know. So with the annual report, this is the annual joint report that is done between the DIG and the board. So the first page just has the table of contents. So I would just say it's always great to kind of go through the table of contents. It gives a lot of good information. Go on to the next slide. There's a message in there from the Inspector General. One of the things that I highlighted is I did receive some questions, thank you so much, from board member Anthony. So one of the things that we did focus on in 2025 was just And our outreach is getting out there and telling more of the community about who we are, what we do, what services we provide, and that information will reflect in when I start talking about the different stats that we have. So that's just some information I highlighted. Let's go on to the next letter. Also includes a letter in there from Chair Burns. Chair Burns had the ability to highlight some things that I thought was really important that the board should take some time to look at. Not only did she highlight the number of allegations that the board reviewed for 2025, which was 1,022, but also the fact that the board had reviewed 327 investigations. Also in that highlights some of the different recommendations by the board that did take effect. In 2024, there was a recommendation dealing with the body cam, and as you'll see in 2025, that CPD actually ended up drafting an actual policy. So just if you get a chance, make sure you kind of look at that letter. Next. So going into this page, I just wanted to highlight also the fact of the training. The DIG staff goes through annual training annually. This lists all of the training that we do. We've been doing this since inception. We always go back and do this training every year. Our community outreach, we show you the list of all of the different outreach community programs we do. We really appreciate if the board members would participate. There are some board members that do participate, which is really great. It allows the community to be able to answer questions, see who you are, see what your talents are, and be able to provide you any feedback. We will have a community outreach annual report coming to you. We should send that to you by the end of the week. It will outline all of the community engagement programs that we participated in. It's also going to give you a little bit of a brief summary about some of those community events too. Here is something new that we actually put in the report that we thought was important. So you have a lot of board members, you have several board members that also, this talks about the training that the board does. So again, thank you, welcome aboard for our 3 new board members. But there's annual training, well, I shouldn't say annual training, there's training that board members have to go through to be a part of this board. I thought this was important for citizens to be able to see this. I know that the board going forward is going to be doing some annual training, so we will be adding that on there to be able to highlight the annual training. We also highlighted some training that conferences that board members have been attending. So we know that several of the board members have been attending the National Association of Civilian Oversight Law Enforcement, which is NACO. So we highlighted that. We also, this year, in 2025, you had Mary Younger that attended that conference. Also, you have 1 board member, which would be Dr. James Ford, that on his own participated in some certification training that NACO offered. And he took care of that on his own. So I thought that was something that needed to be just kind of highlighted. And also you had another board member, which was Crystal Jackson, that completed a class with CPD Community Emerging Program, and that I believe was in 2025. So just wanted to kind of, put that out there for some of the different training that our board members are doing. Again, this page 18, again, just kind of highlights a summary of some of the recommendations that the board has had. I know that when I sit in some of the board meetings, there are questions about, whether the board is making an impact and the type of impact that the board is making. So here is an ability to kind of highlight some of the things that the board is doing. We do know that CPD, with a lot of recommendations that the board makes, CPD does provide, I believe that's a quarterly, is that right? Quarterly report to the board about what they are doing. So some of the things the board, CPD may still be looking at, but this will kind of highlight some of the recommendations that the board has made and where that is standing, and that's in our annual report. Going into this summary of the stats, and again, I know that it's a very heavy-packed meeting for the board today, so I'm not going to go over everything, but if you have questions. This page right here is a summary of all of the stats that we have been doing. So please feel free to look at that and look at the summary. Now I'm just going to go to the charts because the charts are a lot but easier to talk about. But there is a summary if you don't want to look at all the charts and you just want to look at page 19. There's a summary and a highlight of a lot of what we're about to discuss now. So for 2025, when we look at the sources of citizen complaints, in 2025, we received a total of 1,135 complaints. That is a little bit lower than the complaints that we received in 2024, where in 2024, we received 1,741. So one of the questions that was posed to me by one of your board members was, maybe what would be the reasons, or is there a change as to why the number of complaints would be a little bit lower? One thing I will say is from the inception of our office to where we are is educating citizens about what we're able to do. Whereas in the beginning, we did get a lot of complaints, but understanding that citizens did not understand, and some citizens still don't understand our jurisdiction. Our jurisdiction is only over the Columbus Division of Police, whereas we still do get complaints that may involve other entities. So that as it starts to get a little bit more tailored for them understanding what we do, the number of complaints will be a little bit less. But as far as the complaints being detailed and related to police, that still is going to be an impact in the number, as you'll see by the number of cases that we opened up. But that is the reason why you may see a little bit of a drop in complaints. The majority of our complaints are still the hotline. That's 816, and then we have the email, the website, and we do have walk-ins, and then we do get complaints over the main line. So we do have a high number, being 81, that we refer to other agencies, and that, is being able to provide assistance. We still do get a large number of complaints involving other entities. Some of the complaints we get come from 911 operators. We don't have jurisdiction over that, so we do refer that to the other agencies. I'm on 21. No, that's fine. So again, we give a little bit of a breakdown. So the breakdown tells you that out of the 812 intakes, we opened up 324 investigations. As you can see, in 2024, we only opened up, out of the 1,469, we opened up 269 for investigations. And again, the number of investigations increasing goes to the fact of the level of complaints that we're getting are a little bit more detailed and tailored toward police oversight, dealing with CPD. And so that's why you're going to see an uptick in the open number of investigations we have. Looking at D, when we look at the total number of investigations closed, the reason being 201 being in 2025 for insufficient information to proceed versus 2024. Insufficient information can be a lot of things. It can be us trying to follow up with the complainant and the complainant not returning our call. It can also be if the complainant is not able to provide us like specific dates and things that the incident occurred, we're not able to open that investigation because we can only investigate an allegation that has occurred within 90 days. Sometimes we get complaints involving CPD, involving medical, some of the different medical centers, but they turn out not to be CPD officers. So again, we don't have jurisdiction. Where it says preliminary investigation found no police misconduct, that's 164 versus in 2024 it being 303. So one of the things that we look at involving the allegations not having police misconduct, again, it still comes to us making sure that we're educating citizens. We do get complaints where citizens feel that the interaction that they had with the officer or whatever they asked is a violation of policy and procedure. It may not be one of the complaints we do get is officers may be stopped, and during their investigation, the citizen may ask the officer for their supervisor to arrive at the scene, and they don't call the supervisor to the scene. That's not a policy violation. Citizens may not understand that, so that is for us to be able to explain that they don't necessarily have to have a supervisor respond to the scene. Things that could be a person being stopped and asking to be stepped out of the car. Some people feel like when I'm stopped, I should not have to step out of the vehicle. That's not necessarily a policy violation because the officers can't ask you to step out of the vehicle. So again, sometimes it's the matter of when we get the complaint, we follow up with the complainant to get specifically what your allegation is. And if the allegation does not involve a policy violation, then we do let them know that. Next page. Again, looking at so on the next page, we broke it down. This was something that the board had asked, and we started last year. We were able to start collecting information regarding, I'll take that back one go. No, go back. Okay, go on. There we go. So when we look at the allegations, we broke the allegations down by the total number of complaints we were receiving. We broke it down by the disposition. As you can see, one of the highest numbers we have when it comes to actions taken, not taken, was, 377 were the total number of allegations. That was followed by rude and discourteous being 102, force being 126, and with search and seizure being 116. Again, one of the questions that was raised to us was understanding actions taken, what not taken, what does that entail? So actions taken, not taken can be complaints involving officers responding. A lot of those are maybe whether or not they followed a specific policy being examples. It's almost like anything that does not fall up under rude, discourteous, and seizure usually falls up under actions taken. But an example could that be is officers responding and being able to take a report, and maybe they didn't take a report. It can be officers responding, and part of when they responded, maybe there may be a question about whether they spoke to a specific person at the scene. So it can be a lot of things. If the board is interested in the specifics of that, the one thing I will say is when we give the monthly reports out, in the monthly report in the back, we give a summary of what the alleged allegation is, and I believe we do have under there whether that was an action taken or not taken. So it can be a lot of different things. Can you go to the next slide? We did a breakdown for just the dispositions of the allegations. So as you can see in 2025 versus 2024. In 2025, exonerated was 150. And these are per allegations, not per cases, because the allegations go with the officer. Sustained, there was 126, and unfounded being 703. Here's a further breakdown on this page where we're able to talk about the cases that we looked at and whether or not the board agreed or disagreed with the IG's findings, and we also broke it down to the chain of command. You're going to notice that the total number of what the board reviews and what the chain of command is going to be different because once the board is completed with their review of reports, that information goes over to CPD. And so we still may be waiting for CPD findings. We do send out a report, I believe it's quarterly, just listing any reports that might have been like within 4 months that we've submitted to CPD. So that's why you're gonna still see a discrepancy as far as the numbers. But it should at least tell you how many allegations the board has reviewed and what they've agreed and disagreed with. It will tell you how many allegations the chain of command has reviewed and whether they agree or disagree. And then further is a breakdown when it talks about the ones that we have submitted through and the board has agreed. It tells you the ones that we've submitted over where CPD has agreed or disagreed. And I believe the board does get all of those blue slip findings that we get back from CPD that is forwarded over to the board. So the board is able to see, you know, why there are reasons why CPD may agree or disagree with the findings between DIG and the board. And then down at the bottom, you'll see for 2025, it tells you that the board reviewed 327 cases in 2025. CPD, as of 2025, has only reviewed 132 of those. And on the last page, you can see what we did is we did a further breakdown based on the cases and the allegations per precinct. We also did that breakdown versus sustained, exonerated, and unfounded. That was something I believe the board was looking for to see if there were any trends or anything, so they're able to see that. And on the next page, we did just a further breakdown and we just showed the different percentages. There is a lot of information. I will say, if there's any questions, please let me know. I know that there were some questions that were presented to me ahead of time. And so some of those questions I wanted to make sure that we did address, and one of those questions being just particularly understanding what the outcome, particularly what the information is, what's the difference between the complaint intake versus investigation outcome. Again, a lot of times when it comes to the intake, when we look at the complaints that are given to us, we have to make a determination as to whether or not we have the jurisdiction to do that investigation, and also whether or not we have the information to proceed. Our policy is, it's in the report, and we can also, I know for some of the board members may be new, we also have an SOP that we can send out. Our policy is when we get a complaint is we have at least 14 days that we aggressively follow up with the complainant to get additional information. The reason we do 14 days is because we only have 90 days to do that investigation. So within that 14 days, we try to contact that complainant at least. We do 3 attempts to kind of contact that. That's whether it's phone call, email, to get additional information with them. If we're able to contact and get additional information, then we keep the case open. If we're not able to, we close it. Do they have the ability to call back and reopen it? They have the ability to call back, but they have to make sure that when they call back, it's within that 90 days. Because if it's outside of that 90 days, that falls outside of our jurisdiction to be able to investigate. One of the things, it was another question that was asked was the increase of open cases versus the 2 years. Again, I would say that our goal is making sure that we're educating citizens about what we're able to do. And so I do feel like the more and more we educate citizens about what our jurisdiction is, the more complaints that we get, we'll have more of the ability to be able to do those investigations, because those will be a little bit more focused on CPD, and they won't just be investigations that are coming in that we don't have jurisdiction to do. And some of the other questions I can follow up. Are there any questions that anyone has? No? Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Inspector General. Also, and I apologize Apparently, my email requesting the additional columns on that other report that you sent out to us is just not going through. So apologies for that. Does anyone, I will say last call for any questions about the data in the 2025 report for the IG?
And I just wanted to make sure that I follow up with the chair and the board so that you understand that once we present the annual report and the monthly report to the board, we do follow up and send all of that information over to CPD and the mayor's office. But my goal is always to make sure that I present all of that information to the board first. And if the board has any questions or any corrections or anything they want to make before we forward that on. So just being aware that the reports that you do have, all of that information will be pushed over to CPD.
And
after
it also goes, just to remind everyone, IG Hendricks and myself, we do report also to city council per the code. So we do present the entire report to city council as well.
Yes. And I will be following up on a date for us to be able to present that to city council.
Perfect, thank you. All right, the next item on the agenda is a bylaws review, if anyone recalls. I did ask everyone to take a look at documents. Stephanie did forward them all to us. There were a couple of additions that I'll draw your attention to, just to ask whether we as a board would like to update a specific section in our bylaws with this information, and if so, if this language that has been proposed is what we like, or if we'd like to make some adjustments. And then I'll open it up for any additional thoughts that appear there. So first, there's 2 additional suggestions for Article 2, Section 2, and essentially it includes suggestions for ongoing training requirements for board members beyond their inaugural kind of onboarding set of information. So if you all remember, if you look at Article 2, Section 2, the first 5, which are instruction in police tactics, ride-alongs with police officers, seminars on relevant constitutional and criminal law, instruction in de-escalation techniques, and training in diversity, inclusion, cultural competency, and implicit bias. Those are all trainings that each of us had to take before we were set to go and become board members. Those of us who were inaugural board members, we did those trainings during our first year as board members. The 2 additions are 1, an annual refresher training, and 2, documents and compliance. The documents and compliance substantively is just so our administrative coordinator can maintain a list of the trainings that we have undertaken, so that there's not a lot of substantive change there. Number 6, though, the annual refresher training, it currently reads, all members shall complete designated annual training by December 31st of each calendar year. Training will likely include information related to the 1st, 4th, 5th, and 14th Amendments, ABCs of policing, collective bargaining agreement, FOP, as well as any updates to laws, regulations, or CPRB functions. So that is the specific language that I'd like to get some input on from board members. This is just a draft, so whether you think we should, instead of saying designated annual trainings, are there, 4 hours of training you think we should undergo? If folks have suggestions or thoughts about that, I would love to hear them, so that we can maybe wordsmith to what we think would be good to have for board members moving forward. And I'll just add that where this would be helpful is think about all the times we're reviewing cases and an issue that is specific to Fourth Amendment search and seizure, Fifth Amendment interrogation, or other kind of rights that exist. And when we're wondering how policy intersects with those rights, we've had issues where we say, you know what, it'd be good if we get an update on this, or it would be good if we could learn what the new law is about this information. So to that end, Mr. Furby will from time to time send us the updates that he gives to law enforcement officers, but that's a little different than having someone come in, whether it be at a board meeting or at a special session, and have us listen to that instruction and be able to ask some questions. So thinking about how utilitous that would be for board members, given that we could serve 6 years on the board, and maybe the only time we've been trained is when we first became board members. So this would help kind of ensure that we have a little more information fresh on our minds. Does everyone like it as is, or does anyone have any suggestions on saying, well, maybe I think we should do every other year, or?
So I would suggest either every other year, and then I think we should be a little bit more specific in the types of trainings. This seems very vague and broad as it currently reads. And so I think this is something that if there is a potential board member that is interested in joining, that we be specific so that they know what types of biannual or annual training that they're going to have to participate in. Again, I want to reiterate that this is a volunteer board. It is not paid. So I think we should give some kind of idea of how many hours this is going to take so a person can properly account for their time that they're going to be spending.
Mr. Tobias, could you tell us what the estimate for how long does it take new members now to get through the trainings that they currently go through?
I would say it's a few hours. It's a little bit different now because a lot of them are recorded versus when people came in and did those live presentations. So you may be able to get through them a little bit quicker. And then, obviously the ride-alongs are usually, I don't know if you require a full 8-hour shift. I think it was at least a half a shift for the ride-alongs. So, probably between 4 and 8 hours.
Okay. Does anyone else have any thoughts, whether Dr. Jones' suggestion about every other year instead of annually, or does anyone have any thoughts about a specific hourly requirement?
I agree that doing it every other year, or at least every other year or every 2 years is a good idea, because I know that having had it at the very beginning and then only going back to it when necessary is not enough. You just need to review it because you just don't remember. So I agree with Dr. Jones. I think that's a good idea. Yeah.
Okay, what are thoughts on an hourly requirement, given that new board members get between 4 and 8? Anyone have thoughts on what does that mean for sitting board members? Or how long do you think it would take you to go through some of these training modules, whether they're updated? And I feel like we could probably put in some language that the trainings could occur at a board meeting, but I think they could also be administered the same way that new board members' trainings are administered. So if those online trainings are being updated, I'm assuming the content is being updated when there's a change in cases or statutes? Maybe not.
I think it depends. I think it's important that the training be continued, especially in the area of arrest, search, and seizure, because the police stops are really important. So, and it doesn't have to be done at the board meeting. It can be done on one's own, and then it can be done at home, or it can be done on one's own. It doesn't have to be done at the board meeting. But I think it's important that training be on an ongoing basis for board members, with a focus on arrest, search, and seizure.
I agree with that idea. I think if we focus on First, Fourth, Fifth, and 14th Amendments, perhaps that is something that can be integrated into the board meetings. We can invite Furby to talk about that. I don't know if, I don't think the board members need to go through the ABCs of policing again. I think that's, you do it as part of the onboarding process. I don't think there needs to be a refresher in that. As it pertains to the collective bargaining agreement, I think there should be a representative that comes to provide any updates as it pertains to that CBA, because we know that they go into negotiations and there usually are updates. And then same for like FOP. And then I think maybe even if we carve out a designated time as part of the regular standing board meetings to review CBRB functions. So that's just like a little refresher that we go, maybe it's reviewing the bylaws regularly, a section of it, just during the standing board meetings, so that people are always constantly up to date on those that we have.
I like that idea. Okay. Other thoughts? I'm going to suggest perhaps that myself, Dr. Jones, Board Member Younger, and if there's anyone else who would like to do some language smithing with some of these. So if we don't want ABCs of policing to be included, we can cut that out. We can include kind of the more salient terms that we frequently run into, and then maybe put in some language about having a mix of in-person versus online and having our preference put there. And if we have number 7 is included, then if everyone reports to Ms. Brock what trainings they've done that have not been at a board meeting where she can check off who was here and therefore who participated and listened, then that way we'll have a way of keeping track to ensure that everybody gets that requirement. Okay. I'll ask one more time. Anyone have a thought on number of hours? I can say I have to get, 12 hours annually of continuing legal education. So much of that has to be, professionalism and ethics and those sorts of things. So I would think 3 hours, but that is just me. 3 hours every other year doesn't seem too onerous, especially if a couple of those hours are happening in our meetings. But I'm open to hearing other suggestions if folks have them.
So I was actually going to suggest 4, but I don't want to take a vote on that just yet. I think once we decide what topics will be covered and how, then we can assign like hours or how much time to allocate to each of them.
Okay. No one is thinking more than 4, though, are they? If so, I would speak now.
Per year,
Before we bring you a draft that does not say that. Okay. And every other year, is that what folks are thinking?
Yes.
Okay. If other board members outside of myself, Dr. Jones and Board Member Younger are interested in putting some updated language together for a full board vote, let me know. I will give
Chair,
us. Yes.
Burns, I just, sorry, I wasn't quick enough on the uptake.
It's okay.
There's some of the open meeting rules, records retention, those sorts of things that are part of our board work, but I absolutely don't retain those things in my mind regarding, and have had, it's been helpful to be reminded of those things. There's a bunch of administrative functions that those who haven't served on boards or aren't regularly updated on that, probably it would be good to review in the meeting on a, every other year basis or something, because, yeah, we, sunshine laws, I just don't, I don't store those things. And then when I'm reminded, oh, yes, that's right, we need to retain the records. We need to make sure that we're publishing the fact that we're holding a meeting, that sort of thing. Yeah.
Any other thoughts?
That could be wrapped into conflict stuff and just board responsibilities that aren't associated with the police department, but just board responsibilities, so.
Okay. Any other thoughts on this particular subsection in the bylaws? I'm taking notes so that we have all the things that we would like to have included. Okay. What about any of the other documents? Any other suggestions that folks think we need to include or update? What I may suggest is that those of us who are going to do some of that wordsmithing, let's maybe try for a 2-week turnaround so that we could have a board vote at our next meeting, if that works. I don't think it'll take a whole lot of adjusting, so, okay.
Chair Burns?
Yes.
Just briefly, I was searching as you guys were talking about it. I used to do onboarding training for like new members of the Graphics Commission, Property Maintenance Appeals Board, things like that. And to Pastor Nathan's point, the training was like 15 minutes, 20 minutes long, and it addressed becoming familiar with the charter and the code and rules and regs and bylaws and open meetings and public records. So I can share that with Sarah, and then since we have 3 new people now and perhaps 3 new people within the next few months, maybe we could at a minimum do a quick 15 or 20-minute onboarding with those new 3 to 6 members, just to get it, make sure everyone's up to speed.
Yep.
Or we could do it in front of the entire board as a refresher at the April or May meetings,
That would be great.
so.
Yeah. And what I can work with Stephanie on is coming up with some sort of, I don't know, form, way to track, figuring out what, yes, all the things that help, help ensure that we can check off all the boxes of the different topics and the various ways in which we're covering those. Okay, thank you, Mr. Tobias. All right, if no one has anything else, we will move forward with cases. Going once, twice. I don't think we actually.
Did you guys already do the apparel, the amendment to the apparel?
That's what Dr. Jones is just talking about.
That was
now.
Article 4, Section 6, I think.
Okay, Article 4, Section 6. Okay, has everyone had an opportunity to take a look at the apparel policy? It's a proposal for Article 4, Section 6. And if you haven't, I'll just remind everyone, several meetings ago, everyone who was previously a board member. So I have no idea whether this has been given to our new board members, but each of us received a CPRB polo. Does everyone remember that? Yes. And so this policy was drafted by members of the IG's office and Mr. Tobias, I believe, but correct me if I'm wrong,
Yeah.
about essentially authorized use of the apparel. And so, in other words, not showing up at an event that is not board sanctioned, but presenting as the board, and or specifically making like a media appearance or something like that. So if everyone has had an opportunity to take a look at it, let me know. If not, I will ask you to look at it when we take our break, so that if folks have questions, additions, thoughts, suggestions, because this is not a document we have incorporated or voted on yet. I will help save face, and we'll just give people the break when we take it for you to look at it in the event you haven't looked at it already. Does that work for everyone? Okay, perfect. All right, unless there are other thoughts on documents, yes, Mr. Tobias.
I just wanted to ask about the virtual meeting policy, if any of the committees have used it yet, and if there's any practical, in practice issues, questions, problems that anybody might have.
Nice. Have any of the committees been using virtual
Yes,
meetings?
we
Committee
do.
one has, and we've done it 3 times?
3 times.
Properly
Yes.
noticed?
Yes.
Yes, always.
And recorded or not?
Always.
Recorded or not recorded?
They are
Recorded.
not recorded.
So minutes taken and
Minutes are
adopted?
taken, sent in.
Perfect, thank you.
Yes, minutes have been going into Stephanie, and I am typically given those minutes as well. Since Committee One has done virtual meetings, were there any things in the policy that you all think either do not work well or need to be added or edited based on?
You can't add or edit
Well-
anything, it's all revised code required.
Right, yes, but even propositions for making amendments would then have to go through like
Okay.
a process, right?
Okay, just want to make.
I just don't want to, I just don't want them to say, well, this one part is really limiting, if maybe the next time that there's a code change, if we could do this, that'd be great.
No, we haven't had any issues with facilitating our committee meetings virtually. The only thing that I would suggest, is, and maybe this is an IG office thing, or maybe it's a board thing, is to come up with a way to create that meeting link that is through the office. So that way we're not using
Yes.
our own personal links for these meetings,
Gotcha. So like a WebEx.
if possible, yeah.
Yes, that's why we were asking you guys to use your City of Columbus email addresses. Because that's why we're asking to use that as well. You should be able to schedule, but I can check everything.
Is there an auto WebEx link connected to
you get-
Outlook
There
on
is.
those?
There is,
Okay.
but it's what?
I think board members are having trouble accessing their city emails. Is that accurate?
Yes, and I sent out an email, they need to call DOT. There's a password that you give them. You get locked out if you haven't been in your email. So you guys have to call, you have to call. They won't give me your password. I give you the password and you guys have to call. I can resend out the email that I sent you guys. And for those who don't have an email yet, Pastor Jones, Crystal, and you three, you should be notified soon because I put your request in last week. So I apologize for the tardiness of yours, but yeah, it might be easier if you guys just use your columbus.gov emails.
And is that WebEx Outlook interface, if they do that, Stephanie, and then just forward you the link, is that how you then post it? Or do they just have to invite you to the meeting and then you can take that
No,
link and post it?
you guys can send me the email. That's what they've been doing. Just send me the email and I put it in Legistar.
Okay.
Because it's a public notice, so I have to enter it
Yeah.
into Legistar.
But it also gives people a link if they want to watch.
Absolutely. Oh, all your stuff is on there.
Yep.
Time,
Okay.
location, or link.
Perfect. All right. So let's get through one committee's report outs, because we do have a couple of things that we'd like to check on during the break. So including taking a look at the apparel suggestion for the bylaws. And then I think we were looking to see if we could get a video. I think Mr. Hurler was checking on that. So let's get through Committee One's reports, then we'll do the break, and then come back and see what other things we can kind of get through on the agenda. All right, so turning to Committee One for February assigned cases.
Okay, I think there's a case missing in the agenda. 2025-0993 was also, at least we did it. So, so we want to add that to the list here. So I need to make 2 motions because that case also involved the DIG adding a claim. So we move to accept the DIG's findings in 25-0932, 975, 1026, 993, 1047, 1128, 1050, and 001. 26-0018. So our subcommittee unanimously agreed with the DIG in all of those cases. So I move to accept the DIG's findings.
0993 was removed because it was voted on last month.
Was it? Let me check.
Yeah.
We didn't have that last month.
You didn't, but it was voted on it was voted on by another committee. It was closed during the February meeting. It was my fault that it was
Okay.
assigned, so it's not on the agenda for today.
Okay, thank you, Stephanie. All right, so we've got a motion to accept the findings on all the cases listed for Committee One's report out. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, do I have any questions about any of those cases from any other board members? Okay, all in favor of accepting, please raise your hands. Any opposed? Any abstentions? 3, perfect, perfect. All right, we will go ahead and take a 15-minute break. So we will be back, goodness, let's make it easy math for me. An 18-minute break, we'll be back at 3:15. Yeah. Yeah. Did the folks who had an opportunity, or did not have an opportunity to look at the apparel policy edition have a chance to do that during the break? And if so, what are thoughts on language, any adjustments or edits?
May I just ask a question? We got those shirts. Wearing a civilian review board shirt to a baseball game would be seen as violating the policy because why?
Do I have any thoughts from council or the the drafters of the policy?
I definitely understand if it was used for personal enrichment, or could present a conflict of interest, that, you're representing that the Civilian Review Board endorses this activity, and I understand that. I just, in areas where it would be obviously not a conflict of interest, or obviously not resulting in personal enrichment, I guess I'm just curious.
I think it is drafted a little bit more narrowly than you described it. The prohibited uses detail out personal or political events that may imply board endorsement of a candidate, party, or cause.
I was looking at B. Apparel may not be used while performing duties unrelated to the board or for performing duties unrelated to the board.
Yeah, I don't know if the intention there was to, cover the Clippers game or the example that you gave. I don't know if maybe the drafters do.
Yeah, I mean, the DIG drafted it, I just looked at it for legal sufficiency, not for policy content. So, I mean, it is drawn narrowly, and I think the intent initially was just you wear it for formal CPRB events only. But if the board has an appetite for broadening that to say, I want to wear it to the Clippers game, then you just modify that section to say you can't wear it, related to personal or commercial gain. That's at your discretion to do that.
Yeah, that's what I would propose, just that I would like to wear the shirt occasionally, and if it's not worn here, it'll be in my drawer and then given to the Salvation Army in a year. I mean, it's a nice shirt, and, but I definitely understand conflicts, and I understand the enrichment or suggestion of endorsement. I just, if I wanted to wear it to a picnic or a church event or something, it's like, well.
Yep, nope, that makes sense. Other thoughts?
And that might be helpful to garner more attention to the board for people who may want to join the board.
There we go.
It starts a conversation about your role and
Sure.
educational component too. So, I mean, as long as you're not using, again, it's the smell test kind of, you
Totally.
should not be using it to enrich yourself personally.
Exactly.
Professionally, financially.
So then does that then impact Section D under prohibited apparel use? Because that would then there's a statement on there, you can't wear CBR, apparel that is unrelated to CBRB business in a social media. But if you're at the game and you say you take a picture, that's unrelated to the business.
Yeah, that's, from a legal standpoint, that's a big concern. Anytime you modify one section, you then need to read the entire document to make sure it doesn't alter or modify another section. So yes, if you change it, you want to make sure you're changing other sections to be consistent.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
just stating the intent with the apparel is just like even the intent with the apparel that we have in our office, is we only wear it for events in which we are representing the DIG. My people aren't permitted to wear it for other personal events. And that's only because we know out here in the community, when you wear certain things, whether you feel like you're representing the board or not, you are, and you're bringing attention to the board. And so depending on what event you may go into, a social event, just making sure that, it's just not something that somebody may take a picture of or look or see in action that has occurred and say, oh, this is something that as a board member is, portraying as again, because we know the board is a collective body and not an individual. And so that was the intent again for just providing their apparel. And I believe that was something that the board had asked during some of their events, that they can have certain apparel that they're able to wear to be able to represent the board. And so again, that was the intent for providing that apparel to the board.
Yeah, when you draft it narrowly, you're just basically, it's to protect you guys, because you're right. Baseball game, not an issue, but some political event or some other type of event, it could be construed that person's there on behalf of the entire board. And then even though your intent is there's no malice there, you wind up having to then explain yourself on the back end.
I understand if there's an implicit endorsement, yeah, I was just asking, it seemed to sweep in everything, and we could do whatever the board wants to do. We can narrow it to just, civilian review board events, but, yeah. It was nice getting a shirt, but I won't wear it unless I can, actually wear it. Give it back.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so. Okay. So would some proposed, I think what we can come up with is some proposed adjustments to the language, including changing the social media policy portion and just taking out the clause that is unrelated to CPR business so that it reads, members should not create any social media posts wearing CPRB apparel in ways that might misrepresent the board's views or role that implies an endorsement by the entire board. And that's consistent with our current social media policy and our other, just general, how we've put our other documents together. Leave C the way that it is. And then essentially include B inside of A. So instead of B being, it's B being kind of a separate thing outside employment or non-board event, just saying that related to personal or commercial gain, and then putting that up in A. Would that work?
Yeah.
Okay. Other thoughts on that? And we can, the same group that's messing with the language on the other subsection, proposed subsection, can have a final version of this as well to present to the rest of the board. We'll put the same 2-week deadline on it. Is that fine? And if everyone could please ensure they check their emails, so that way there's posture to take a vote at our next meeting.
Just whatever final version you land on, I would send it Sarah's way for final review.
Yep, we'll do with both sets of language. All right. Thank you all for taking a look at that. Thank you for the input. Okay. And now I think we are ready to go back to cases. Stephanie, do we still need to start with 3, or would we be good? Okay. All right. So we'll go a little out of order, and I will ask Subcommittee 3, or Committee 3, if they would move to their February assigned cases.
Good afternoon. So Committee 3 met. We reviewed the cases in case number 250950, 250960, 250978, 251000, 251053, and 251092. We did review the cases and voted and unanimously agreed with the Inspector General's decisions.
Okay. So do we have a motion then to accept those cases as written and those recommendations?
Motion.
Okay, may I have a second, please?
Second.
Any questions or discussion on those issues? All in favor, please raise your hands. Any opposed and abstentions? Thank you. All right, does that dispose of all of the cases for Committee 3?
It does.
Okay. All right, is it okay for me to go to Committee 2 now?
Oh, we can go.
Okay.
It's not working.
It's not working, oh no,
I
okay,
can get it on this laptop, but it's not transferring, the file's too big.
okay.
I can start, and then maybe you can get it.
Yes, ma'am.
We'll see what happens. All right, thank you.
I'm going to leave that case out. I have, some of them have DIG allegations, so I'll state those as I go through. Case number 25-0930, 25-0934, 25-0953, 25-1006, 25-1010, and 25-1031. We move that those be, we did concur, our committee met, we did concur with the Inspector General, and, let's see. And as to case number 2025-1006, we did also concur with the DIG allegation that there was profanity, that the officer used profanity. And I believe there was one more. Case number, okay, let's do those because the other 2 cases have, we have to deal with an additional factor. So as to those, we concurred with the Inspector General.
Okay, and you'd like to make a motion?
I make a motion at this time to accept that.
Okay, so we've got a motion open on the floor to accept cases 0930, 0934, 0953, 1006, plus an additional allegation from the IG on 1006, 1010, and 1031. May I have a second, please? Okay, any questions or discussion on those cases? Hearing none, all in favor, please raise your hands. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Thank you.
All right, now the next case is 2025-0980. On this case, there are 3 allegations. The third allegation is a DIG allegation indicating that the officer used profanity. We do concur with that. However, there is an additional situation here. The officer did use profanity here, but when the IG interviewed the officer, he, as to his use of profanity, he indicated that he was matching the demeanor or the energy for this situation. And so when my committee reviewed this, we thought, is the officer in this situation to match the energy for the situation, or is he to rise above the situation and attempt to de-escalate the situation? So when we discussed it, we thought that it would be necessary, we would like the board to consider that would it be appropriate here to have a verbal consult regarding the profanity in this situation, because it's a little different than normal profanity, because he is, the officer in this situation thinks that he should be matching the energy from an individual that he might be seeing, that this individual might be having one of the worst days of his life, and the officer is trying to match that energy. So we would like maybe his supervisor or sergeant to address what the officer stated in his interview, that how he should deal with his energy or his anxiety in these situations, that his function might be to de-escalate. And so we would like to add that on to our recommendation.
Okay. Are there any questions or discussion about the suggestion from committee two?
Did the DIG add this and you're moving to sustain it, and then you're making a recommendation about what the discipline ought to look like? I'm just not,
The DIG sustained the allegation.
Okay.
Or actually, it was their allegation.
they added an allegation.
They added an allegation of profanity,
Yep.
period. Then but when the officer was interviewed as to his profanity.
I understood that. I
Okay.
just wondered you're moving to accept the DIG's finding of sustained
Yes,
on this additional allegation that they added.
right.
And then you're also making a recommendation for the kind of discipline that you would like to see.
Well, that when the chain of command reviews this, that they take a look at this interview with the Inspector General and take a look at the officer's response to this. It's the fact that he was looking at matching energy with energy. And that's what I'd like for them to take a look at.
So would the suggestion maybe be to engage in additional training about de-escalation? Because that
Or
feels like
verbal.
where it centers.
Training or verbal, yeah, sure, you could say training.
Only because I think you're correct in that matching energy is probably not the thing
That he should be doing, yeah.
that we're trying to do. Like, just because a person is using profanity does not mean that the officer is then entitled to use it back. Like, that's definitely not part of use of force continuum, right? So does that sound?
Yes, I just don't know how to say it.
Uh-huh, okay. Okay. Anyone have thoughts then about that being the recommendation, that there also be training for the specific sergeant around use of force protocol de-escalation? Or I don't even want to say use of force, but the concept of use of force is that you are authorized to do certain things when other things occur. However, I don't think there's an authorization for you to use profanity against the citizen just because they are doing it. Like, that's not
Right.
what is policy. Okay, anyone else have thoughts or suggestions for other motion verbiage? 25-0980. Mhm. Okay, so that would be your motion?
Yes.
Okay, is there a second? Okay, any other discussion as to that case? All right, hearing none. All in favor of forwarding that recommendation with the additional language about kind of retraining that officer on appropriate use of de-escalation tactics, even verbally?
Thank you.
Please raise your hands. Okay,
That's the
any
way-
opposed?
That was the way to say it.
No problem. Any abstentions? All right, we've got our 3 abstentions. Thank you. Okay, you have one
Okay.
more case?
Yeah, Chair Burns, could you review the case numbers we've done so I can make sure that,
Yes.
Thank you.
We've got 25-0930, 25-0934, 25-0953, 25-1006, 25-1010, 25-1031, and 25-0980.
Perfect. Okay, now we're on our last case. Is it working?
No, ma'am.
So we can't do the video?
No, ma'am, unless I just walk my laptop around and show each of you.
That won't work.
I can do that.
Is,
It's on, yep, it's on a flash drive.
You can hook up.
That's true.
You can hook up a laptop. So there's a HDMI cord in there. You can just hook it up to a laptop and play it.
Couple minutes. It's a redacted BWC, but I can't seem to put it, it's not in the, I'll say user error. I can't show it from here, but I can show it from my laptop, but my laptop's not projecting on the screen.
Chanel, go ahead.
If we're gonna take a quick 5-minute break, we can try to hook the HDMI cord up directly to the laptop and see if that'll help us get it up there. Is that okay?
Y'all,
Thank you, Stephanie. No, we appreciate it. We'll take,
I apologize that I'm.
I believe it is in Stephanie's laptop.
Thanks, Chanel.
but thank you, I appreciate it. I will go ahead and turn it back over to Board Member Younger, who's gonna kind of give us the background on this specific case before we see this video clip.
All right, thank you. This is case number 2025-0916. And Mr. Hurler will take over in just 1 minute here. But this was a complaint that, and the event took place against City Columbus police officer. But this took place at the North Central Mental Health Facility. And there are just two allegations. Allegation one says that the special duty officer used excessive force against the complainant by grabbing her arms and pushing her to the ground. And number two was rude and discourteous in that he was disrespectful and used profanity. So that's the allegation here. The IG sustained both allegations. I went and I viewed the body cam, and I also had the opportunity to speak with the two investigators who did the interviews. So there was a use of force report, and I'll go through that briefly in just 1 second. At this time, though, I'd like Mr. Hurler to go ahead and go through the BWC real quick. Go ahead, Scott. And you can kind of explain the frame, if you would.
Yes, ma'am.
Or whatever you think is appropriate. You know what to do.
Good afternoon. Can you hear me? I don't know if I'm close enough.
Yes.
Thank you. So I was going to, just as I had just explained prior to coming back, I'm going to run through this. It's about 20-ish seconds, the entire use of force portion. And then I'm going to run it back, and I'm going to try to do as best I can frame by frame. In Axon, we have the ability to go individual frame by frame. We don't have that ability here, but we'll do that the best we can through here. There are 5 contacts that we're looking for in here, so each time that the officer re-engages physically with the complainant. Did I lose it? We're still here, okay.
Okay, leave. This is private property, you're no longer welcome on the property, get out.
I'll get it.
Go.
Don't touch
You're
me.
gonna walk out.
Well, don't push me.
Go.
What's your name here?
Officer
You know what?
Bessbarger, badge number
Hold on, I'm
3224.
recording. Don't squat. Holy shit. Ah.
This is fake, get out.
What do you mean?
Get
Hey,
out.
what are you doing? Leave my phone. No. What?
Get out.
How do you do that shit to me? I'm getting
Get
out.
out.
I'm getting
Get
out.
out. Stand
I'm getting out.
up. Stand up.
Get out.
You were told 3 times to get out.
So those were the 5 contacts that we looked at. Like I said, again, I'm going to try to come back and go frame by frame so you can see what it was that we were looking at as each of the contacts were made.
Because you're a police
Okay,
officer,
leave.
does that mean
This
that-
is private property, you're no longer welcome on the property, get out.
So here you can see the first contact. This is where the officer had written down that he had placed her in an escort position. His hand is on her wrist, his left hand on her wrist, and his right hand is going to the upper arm. We may have missed it here. This part was in dispute with the officer, and when we were reviewing it and going frame by frame, it's difficult to tell how much momentum the complainant has as the officer described, pulled away, versus if the officer had pushed her at this point.
Go.
This was the second contact. There was no dispute with us about this being a push. This was not an attempt to re-engage as we saw it in an escort position. This was probably the most difficult part to watch because we aren't able to see exactly how this happens right in front of his body with where her body's positioned because of the camera footage or the camera placement. At that point, he does re-engage a escort position or attempts to re-engage an escort position, and this is where he moves her out of the door. So, again, hard when not being able to look at this frame by frame. We can see as this officer moves his body towards the door, he's pushing in this direction, and there's no dispute about that. The dispute came from the officer and from the use of force report with where she was and how she fell, because she does not go straight out the door, but to the left. So the dispute was, had he pushed her or had she, as he said, thrown herself to the ground?
This is fake, get out.
Here he was picking her back up to get her back out at about 3 seconds from here.
What are you doing?
He picks up her property and throws it out,
Why do you do this shit to me? I'm getting out. Let me out.
and then attempts to re-engage that escort position here, and does
You were told 3 times.
push her
to
out
get
the door on that last portion. Board Member Younger, did you have anything you wanted to discuss?
So, just a little bit here. This was a mental health facility, and this woman went, just from before here, she went up to the desk and gave her name, and she had the wrong day. They did not advise her that it was the wrong day, so she went back to her seat, waited a half hour, then she went back up and asked and was told that she was there on the wrong day. So she said something to her niece or aunt, whoever it was that was with her, and then the officer overheard, and then this whole thing happened. But the use of force report, what we have to remember here, the officer is special duty at North Central. The use of force report was reviewed by the supervisor. The supervisor found it to be, quote, reasonable and within policy. The supervisor did find that the officer was in violation when he said, sit there and shut the fuck up. The supervisor addressed this with corrective action, and that was taken care of. This action here, though, where the officer kept pushing her out, there were 3 that I remember when I saw the video, 3 points of contact, and she was shoved out, and then he threw the purse out. And I wanted the board to view this because my committee thought that the action was not, that the use of force was not reasonable and within policy. I am not certain whether the supervisor viewed the video or not, but I'm sure that he did. When he was interviewed, during the officer's interview with the IG, he indicated that he told her, and this was in quotes, to shut the F up because at this point he was, in quotes, matching her energy. Then he said that he did not trespass her, which was incorrect because he threw her out. I mean, I don't know, He indicated in his interview that he did not push her. He also said that people just throw themselves to the ground to make police look bad. So he thought that this was pushing herself doing this to herself. And then he said that other than his profanity, he believed himself to be professional. And he was asked by the investigator, by the IG investigator, if he felt that he de-escalated the case, and he said, in quotes, "I feel like I matched her energy, which is what this job is about, which in this job is needed at times," end quote. So I feel that our issue here is the fact that force was found to be reasonable and within policy by his supervisor. The DIG disagreed with the supervisor's finding, and our committee agrees with the Department of the Inspector General. We wanted the board to view this BWC and then make a recommendation to the chief as to whether some sort of discipline is warranted for this officer, whether it be verbal or otherwise. We do not believe the force is reasonable, and it shouldn't end here with the supervisor saying that is reasonable. But we want the board to review it with us. Thank you. That's it.
And Board Member Younger, is the concern that because the supervisor has
Yep.
already said he found
that it was within policy, that we might get kind of a similar finding from chain of command.
Yeah, without the full board viewing the video and review and talking about it, yeah. And this, we thought, our committee thought it was a little egregious.
Okay. All right. Does anyone have any questions, whether it be for Supervisor Hurler or for Committee 2 on this case and kind of the ultimate direction, I think, the motion that's going to come from Committee 2? Only that, after reviewing the footage, I completely agree with where you stand on the fact that the supervisor could see what we seen and didn't, and thought this was in policy. So my point of view, I do agree with what you see. And it also appeared in the very beginning, when he walked up to her, she was getting ready to stand up anyway to leave. But he put his hands on her right from the bat.
If I could just preface one thing here as well. A lot of this footage is redacted, but there is about 3 or so minute interaction between the complainant and the officer, verbal interaction, prior to this point. So I just wanted to be clear, I don't want to misrepresent anything. This didn't just start right here at this level.
Okay,
It escalated to this level.
okay, that's good to know,
Yeah.
too.
And there's subsequent stuff too, isn't there? Because I think
There is another video. That one is fully redacted, so we couldn't see, we could hear. He goes back out to her car to tell her that she's sitting in the car, she has to leave, you're still on this property. There's no physical interaction there. And then there is a third video. She had called back over to the facility to obtain the officer's name and badge number, and the video captures the staff member on the phone with her, as well as the officer talking to her again and stating that he had already provided his name and badge number on several different occasions.
And I just need to add this. The Department of the Inspector General interviewed all the people at this is a mental health facility, so people who go here are looking for mental health. And the individuals here were interviewed. For example, the desk clerk at this facility was interviewed. And she indicated here that this woman was being dramatic and throwing herself to the ground, and that the officer then put her purse outside. He threw her purse outside. This is all in quotes. And that she knew that there was no profanity used. And he even admitted that he used profanity. And the Inspector General said her statement was inconsistent with the BWC footage. So we're lucky to have the BWC footage because 4 or 5 people were in, can you hear me? Oh, we're interviewed, and they all said that, I mean, they made statements that were inconsistent with BWC footage. So I just wanted to put that on the record.
I have a question regarding the DIG investigation. Why was the prior 3-minute interaction redacted? What was the basis for the redaction?
As
Who
far as I
redacted it?
As far as I understand, it was from
CPD?
CPD, yes. As far as I understand, it was because it was inside of the mental health facility, and it wasn't pertinent to what we had requested.
Meaning
So-
not in this main lobby area, like in the back?
It was in the main lobby area. I think that it was inside of the facility, but again, it wasn't also pertinent to the specific portion that was requested. So rather than going through and redacting individual faces or checking signage or other things that may have contained any sort of HIPAA information, they redacted the entire thing because what we had asked for specifically was the physical interaction, that use of
Okay.
force.
Yeah, I mean, we could talk about it later, but for context purposes, I think a 3-minute interaction with a complainant prior to physical interaction is important for context.
Certainly.
In terms of, because there was just earlier discussion about whether she was getting ready to stand up on her own. But if the officer had had 3 minutes prior contact with her and she was showing no indication of getting up and being resistant and defiant, I'm not leaving, that's important context for then his actions in terms of using escort positions and things of that nature. So,
Absolutely.
yeah, we can talk more about that later. They should have redacted individual faces, but left the interaction with the officer and the complainant intact for you to see those full 3 minutes.
Sure, thank you.
I would like to add, oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I'm sorry, I just wanted to do a follow-up, and I think I'm correct. When Board Member Younger was able to see the footage in our office, she was able to see that interaction though, right? This was just redacted for that was our mistake. That portion was just redacted for the board members, but I think,
got to
Board
see a
Member
lot
Younger
more.
was able to see everything.
Yeah, that makes me feel better. As
Yeah.
long as someone who's making a final decision was able to see that 3 minutes and can communicate that to the rest of the board.
I got to see a lot more, yeah.
Yeah, because that context is important for the analysis
Absolutely.
from a legal standpoint.
Okay, so right now, Committee 2, are you moving to accept the board, or to accept the IG's recommendation on case number 250916?
I am with the recommendation that, that the chief of police and the safety director review the finding of the supervisor as to the use of force by this focus officer.
Okay. Do I have a second?
Chair Burns, I think.
Yes.
He had a comment.
Oh, sure.
Well, I was just going to add to it. You know, when you look at the officer, it was obvious that he was frustrated, and he did attempt to secret escort position or the move that he did, but I think he was wrong when he pushed her in the back. So I believe that was, you know, I don't think that's a part of the training. Me being working in the juvenile system, I've learned that you never can push somebody in the back like that. So I think he was out of line with that, and I believe, you know, the de-escalation could have prevented a lot of that. But as you said, the context previous to that push probably is good commentary that we needed to see. So I just wanted to add to that.
And not only that, but also throwing her purse out out of her
Absolutely.
personal property.
Absolutely.
Okay. May I have a second on the open motion?
Second.
Okay. Any further discussions, questions? Okay, all in favor of forwarding the motion as stated, please raise your hands. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Thank you. All right, thank you, Committee 2. And does that dispose of all of Committee 2's cases?
It does.
Okay. So next up on the agenda, I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Ford. This is, and I will note that for this case, remember this was a special duty officer. The board made a recommendation about special duty officers having BWCs. I think in part, the outcome of this case is one of the outcomes of that policy recommendation. Dr. Ford wanted to bring to the board's attention kind of a related issue that might require us to think about some additional language specific to this BWC and special duty case. So I'll turn it over to Dr. Ford.
You want to do that part right now?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I'll pass this around. This is just a rough draft that I just read up really quickly in regards to another case, but some of the same idea regarding body cameras. We were so successful in with CPD making that a policy for off-duty officers to wear the body-worn cameras. But as we've seen in another case I'm going to bring up in a second, it seems the policy states that they should wear or activate their body-worn camera upon dispatch for service until the end of the call. But we have another case I'm going to bring up here in a minute where body-worn cameras were turned off by all three responding officers, and the dash cam was turned off for 30 minutes before they reactivated during the call for service. And I think we need to have some directive for change of policy or question change by the wording of the policy. So body-worn cameras should not be turned off during the encounter until the encounter is complete. I think that's a gray area from what I understand in the policy. And I think we need to, as a board, propose to CBD chief that once they're activated, they cannot be turned off without maybe some type of written narrative of why they were turned off for some kind of privacy with the subject or whatever. But I think having the ability to turn on and off your body-worn camera at will to discuss things that are kind of important to the case should not be allowed. So I'm asking that if we can use this draft or something, go off this and draft some request to the CPD chief that this be investigated. So body-worn cameras, once they're activated, cannot be turned off until the end of the encounter.
And I will note that we have had, and kind of what led to our suggestion that body-worn cameras be made available and required for special duty officers did come from a number of cases in which we had questions because we could not make a determination because no body-worn camera was available. And so the ask is now to ensure that information is not lost by prohibiting those cameras from being turned off for reasons that are not related to, in my experience, BWCs can be turned off, let's say if a person who's wearing it has to go to the bathroom or something else. And so I guess before we get into either discussion or motion language, I'll ask the IG or Attorney Tobias, do we know what the current policy says about officer ability to stop a recording once it's been started?
Yeah, I know, Sarah, I know you looked it up earlier today. Is your connectivity still not working?
No, I have a little bit of connectivity. Yeah, it's Directive 11.07 relates to body-worn cameras, and it does have a separate section for special duty. But I know for regular non-special duty interactions that there is a requirement that the camera remain on throughout the entire interaction. I wasn't aware. This was a special duty contract when I looked at this earlier, but you can look at it now. And it maybe there, it is appropriate to make a suggestion to clarify that for this section too, because it's not jumping out at me right now.
Okay. So we at least know it exists for non-special duty officers. Do we want that to mirror that language, Dr.
I
Ford?
think we should, and from my sort of quick non-legal reading of that policy, it was just that they were required to activate them and then turn them off, but there was no specific language about turning them on and off during the encounter. I could be wrong about that, but I think we need to highlight that once it's on, it needs to stay on, sort of extenuating circumstances where I think should be documented. If there's a privacy concerning something, a small narrative in the report should indicate the camera is off for a certain amount of time for those privacy concerns.
Would it be helpful for us to have the policy sent to the board so that we can have this conversation next month? So once we review it to see, because if the special duty provision doesn't exactly mirror the standard procedure, I would also be concerned about that.
They should be the same.
Same.
Dr. Jones has the language on her laptop now. We're just looking to see what the difference is. Okay. So it looks like the language about it being actually operable and on is the same. I think the issue is prohibiting turning it off.
Right,
And
that's what I'd like
so-
to tighten up.
Yep. So I think what, maybe the recommendation could be a recommendation that special duty officers who, I don't want to make it a more loophole language, but that officers be prohibited from turning off the body-worn cameras during an encounter.
Correct.
And maybe
I
that's,
think that'd be appropriate.
okay. Does anyone else have any suggestions or edits to that language?
Yeah, I think we need a little more consideration, because what is an encounter? How long does the encounter last? If we go back to the car, come again, I think we'll need to think about the exact language that we want to use. I get the intention, and I agree with it. I don't know if there's a legal definition. I would assume there's a legal definition for what an encounter is, so.
I think any time a call for service is initiated, they're dispatched until the time it ends. I mean, everything should be recorded as much as possible legally. There's no reason to not to, short of a privacy concern or something. But we should get the special duty and regular officers on the same policy.
So I'll ask Attorney Harrell or Attorney Tobias, do either of you know what the official definition of what constitutes the start and end of an encounter is?
I'm looking at the definitions now in the directives. There's no definition of encounter or interaction that I'm seeing. So, and Rob, please chime in.
Yeah,
if you
I'm
know.
looking at 11.07, the policy statements as well. I mean, there's the exceptions for like going to the bathroom, like all the personal, non-work related activities. Yeah, it almost seems like it just says shall wear the BWC and have it powered on while on duty. And now including working overtime unless, and here's all the exemptions. I'm looking to see, this just says have it powered on. It doesn't necessarily say activated, so I'm
But
just.
if you go down to, sorry to cut you off, if you
No,
go down to
please.
section M, it says sworn personnel shall continue recording until the enforcement activity or encounter has ended.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
So it looks like what we have is a policy enacted after a case in which we were not able to find that a policy had been violated because the policy did not exist for special duty
Yeah, and if there's no
officers.
definition, it's usually just, common usage, and all the other indications are like when they're interacting with individuals versus not interacting with individuals. So, there's an argument to be made that the encounter lasts as long as they're still having that interaction with a focus person, a suspect, a witness. There was a section P there, it talks about, division personnel having routine, non-enforcement related activities. But I think any kind of potential, like if they're having discussions about what are we gonna charge this person with or not charge this person with, those probably should be still on body cam.
I agree.
Okay, so I'm going to read the language just so everyone has a chance to hear it, except I just made it so large that it disappeared, okay. And then if there is additional language that we think should be added, that is where we can focus our discussion. So the language currently says, in the special duty officer body-worn camera policy, sworn personnel shall continue recording until the enforcement activity or encounter has ended, or until they are ordered, permitted to stop recording by a sworn supervisor. Then there are 3 subsections. Subsection 1, tactical personnel shall continue recording until the execution of a search warrant served during a tactical operation on an occupied structure and associated curtilage has ended. The execution has ended after initial entry is made, suspects are detained or taken into custody, and the scene has been secured. 2, sworn supervisors may direct tactical personnel to start, continue, or stop recording after the execution of the warrant has ended based on the circumstances. Or 3, sworn personnel may stop recording to view or upload a video from an incident.
What subsection was that?
Subsection M, as in
That is
Mary.
in the, not in the special duty section, it's in the
Yeah.
standard.
Yeah, and to your point, Dr. Ford, in section S, number 2, says if you are going to turn it off to have conversation when not in the presence of suspects or citizens with other sworn personnel, you have to have explicit supervisor approval to do it.
Okay. Thank you.
That's right here.
Okay. So given that language that exists, do we have any either adjustments or edits to?
Yeah, it seems like it's pretty comprehensive, so that for particular fact pattern, it just is a matter of determining, like, at the time that they turned it off, whether any of these exceptions actually
Okay.
apply. Yeah. Or if they follow, if they
Right,
follow,
right.
if they follow them.
I'm sorry, just real quick, just for the new members or whatever. All of they're not just reading these off the head, they're directives and everything. I send them out every month and they're online. And we ask you to kind of look at them when you're going through your cases. Just, you guys have them every month.
Thank you, Seth.
Thanks.
Okay. So, Dr. Ford, I'll leave it in your hands. Would you like to make a formal motion and then we can take a vote or move forward?
So I think with your interpretation, was that for full-time officers or that special duty or that was both?
No, I was not looking in the special duty section.
Since this one was special duty, I didn't know we should make
Sarah, which
both policies
section was
mirror
the
each other.
special duty section?
Hold on, it is G.
And the section I read from was sworn personnel. So
You're looking at
theoretically, that
G,
feels like
I,
it's
G.
everybody.
Covers everything. Should.
G on page 3 of 12.
So we could also, in the sake of time,
Oh,
maybe
you text-
revisit
let me
this
just
next
see, maybe
month.
I've just
We can
click on
review
a-
some of
click
these
on that
Okay.
link.
and then look at the exact wordage.
There, if we're missing any
for page
language, we can add it.
I
I
have a
feel
different
like
document.
it
Can you click on that
indicates
right up there?
that doing so is a violation of policy, but this policy would not have applied to special duty officers back in
Right.
2023.
Yeah, I have the 807-page document that I'm scrolling through, but IG Hendricks has a different, shorter version with a link actually to
Okay.
BWC special duty policy. So we're trying to pull that up now.
Perfect.
I just don't have that link because I
Okay.
have the one that Stephanie sent me, which is like the hard copy, electronic 800-page document.
Okay, well, while the IG is pulling that specific
can.
link up, if you're able to send that, that would be great. And then I'll open the floor for any other kind of policy-related discussions, just to give a couple of moments to see if we can get that language in front of us.
Chair Burns, what started my thought process on this whole thing was, if I could have 2 more minutes. And this, I think, all of us members until today were here for this. And this case was from 2023, case 2023-1164, which was adjudicated a few months later after that by the board, with the DIG findings of sustained for all the allegations. I can give the copy of this to you. You can look it up, case 2023-1164. But the gist of it was a longer case of alleged bias policing, some just poor police work. But the AIG had 3 or 4 allegations, and they were all turned back from the chain of command. We had sustained allegations. They all found them as unfounded. And it disturbs me that, and this was one of them, 3 officers pulled someone over. They turned their body cams off for half an hour once they realized the cause for the stop was not legitimate. And they turned their body cameras off and the dash cam off for 30 minutes to try to find a cause, legitimate cause for the stop.
Gee, let me look at that.
And so that disturbs me, but what also disturbs me is the chain of command, a sergeant, a lieutenant, a commander, all agreed with that and turned over the IG's findings. And so I think I would just like to see us, I don't know if we send a letter, a change in policy, but I think, and this has now arisen, to the federal level and was adjudicated there last month, in January of this year. I think we need to ask the chief of police to revisit, not the discipline, the officer's been disciplined, but revisit the chain of command and how the chain of command all agreed that turning your body cameras off for 30 minutes and trying to find a cause for a stop is legitimate. How they could come up with that finding, I think, is inappropriate.
Yeah, and I will note, I don't know if Dr. Ford mentioned this, but this was, like you said, litigation. The plaintiff did settle with the city. So I am not sure what the details of that settlement were, if there's maybe an explanation for the changing of the determination to unfounded. That's something that's just unclear. And if you have anything to add?
Yeah, sometimes in a settlement agreement, there's no acknowledgement of wrongdoing. And so there may be some connection between a term of a settlement of agreement and the way that the finding was changed by the chain of command to be consistent with the terms of the settlement agreement.
Okay,
We wouldn't know that unless we could see the settlement agreement.
right.
It just provides some explanation as to why they may have changed it.
I think what we could do potentially moving forward, Dr. Ford, is as we get back reports from chain of command about what they've done with our recommendations and sustained allegations, I think, at least for cases in which there aren't kind of pending civil actions and/or settlement agreements, I think we can bring those up to the chief and talk about why those things may have come out differently.
And I was part of this too, but I think it behooves all of us to pay more attention to what results, the DOJ results from the chain of command once they come back.
Yep, Attorney Tobias, you had something?
Not that, I'm special,
Okay.
body worn camera, so I'm waiting till you're finished talking about that.
Yep, go ahead.
I think all of these regular rules for body worn camera apply to special duty. I think this separate section just adds some additional, like, how to check out your camera, that kind of stuff. It's only, the interesting thing, it says temporary policy as of April 4th, 2025, which just modifies Section 2, subsection G, which just talks about whether the cameras are available or not. It's a very small generic section. So all the other provisions in this two-page titled Special Duty BWC talk about signing out the device, returning the device, how they are to be marking in, uploading recordings, notifying an on-duty supervisor if the BWC malfunctions, things of that nature. There's no like additional requirements. I think all of the main requirements for use of a body-worn camera apply to special duty if they're using body-worn cameras,
Yep, okay.
based on my quick review of these two provisions.
No, that's helpful.
Thank you.
That's helpful, because that just reaffirms that the board's recommendation, the DIG's findings were correct, right? That was against policy. It should not have happened. I think the deeper than issue is rectifying when chain of command comes back and says the opposite.
Exactly.
So,
Thank you.
yep, nope, I appreciate it. Okay. Are there other kind of policy-related discussions that we'd like to have today? Dr. Ford, I know there's a couple that we'd like to maybe have for another meeting, but anything else that anyone has that they'd like to bring forward? Unrelated to policy, I will make some committee assignments with our new board members. For Committee 1, I will ask Board Member Grove if he would join your committee. That is chaired by Pastor Nathan. So if you would get connected, so that way he will have your information to include you on upcoming meeting times. Committee 2, I would ask Mr. Caldwell to join Committee 2. So that is Dr. Ford and Board Member Younger. If you all would let him know when and where meetings will be. And then Board Member Fay, you will be joining Board Member Jackson on Committee 3. I will note that in anticipation, knowing that we will likely have new additions and board members rolling off, know that there could be additional shuffling of committees. But for now, those are the new committee assignments. And if you all take a moment to ensure that you have each other's contact information as soon as the board meeting is over, that would be great. Also, for our April meeting, please be thinking about, it is that time of year where we need to elect a chair and vice chair. So think about your nominations for our April meeting. All right. Does anyone have anything else for the good of the order? Seeing none, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
That was very fast, thank you. Second, all in favor, please raise your hands. This time you all can vote. Any opposed, any abstentions? Meeting adjourned. Thank you all.
Thank you.
I believe you're last.